your time. What do you make of the Prime Minister's proposed changes here on the citizenship test?
I'm delighted. Our policy, Liberal Democrats' policy on immigration has included a 10-year waiting period for citizenship now for probably 5 years. We also argue that welfare should be withheld from non-citizens, with the exception of refugees, and the raising of the bar on the citizenship test is part of the process. In fact, we circulated a list of about 15 questions just in February this year, which was sort of our version of extreme vetting. And I'm not claiming credit for the government pinching my ideas, but I'd be delightful if that's what they did. I'd be delighted.
Well, yeah, other crossbenchers have suggested this is the government pinching their ideas. But yes. Let me ask you why you think the delay, the time period, let's start there. I mean, 4 years is longer than one. You say it should be a 10-year wait. Why is that important?
We argue that what we should be worried about is protection of our fundamental freedoms. So free speech, freedom of association, equality before the law, freedom of worship, those sort of things, they're fundamental rights that we inherited through our liberal democratic values originally from England. For people who come to Australia, need to sort of absorb those values, if you like. That's what assimilate means. And I don't think they can do it in a year. In fact, the debate over the 18C issue reflects the fact that there are people who are in marginal electorates who have taken on values that are at odds with those values, free speech in particular, and now they're influencing the political process. I don't think it's a good trend. And so the idea would be people can come to Australia, they're proud of their heritage, they bring their culture with them, but they take on Australian values, and by the time the waiting period has elapsed, they have realised, okay, they can't turn Australia into their old country, they have to become Australian like the rest of us.
Now, in the citizenship pledge, as it exists right now, you do pledge your support for Australian laws, that you will adhere to Australian laws and respect for the parliamentary democracy and so on. Why is that not enough? What values also need to be agreed upon by new citizens?
Well, you know, that sort of thing is pretty easy to say, and we see plenty of evidence of people who've become citizens, they really don't absorb that sort of thing. And in any case, I mean, our laws are massive. You know, if you took all of our laws and stacked them all up in a pile, you know, it would be higher than a two-storey building. So it's not possible for people to pledge to obey all those laws, and they have no idea what they all are.
So, well, exactly, but this gets to the crux of it. Why say, you know, domestic violence, don't beat your wife, and not, you know, don't murder or rape, or, you know, why do we need to choose some laws to be more specifically agreed upon?
Because I think a lot of the people who come to Australia they'd be coming from countries where murder is illegal, and I don't know of any country where murder is not illegal, and theft and fraud and those sorts of things. But there's lots of countries which don't have free speech, which don't have freedom of worship, freedom of association, fair trials, equality before the law. Those sort of values they may not bring with them. They need to absorb those values, and it doesn't really matter what the law says. Those are the values they need to take on board. That's why I think raising the bar on citizenship, in fact I'd raise it further, but raising the bar on citizenship is a good thing, because once you become a citizen you vote. And then you vote for politicians, and if you don't reflect Australian values, if you don't absorb Australian values, those freedoms that we regard as fundamental to a free society, you can end up voting for a politician or you know, advocating for a politician who doesn't believe in freedom, and that's not a good thing at all.
The reality is new citizens have to sit this test, and if it's strengthened they'll have to agree to all these values and so on. Those of us born here in Australia as Australian citizens never have to sit any such test. Does it mean that there's a higher bar to clear for those who are new Australians rather than those who are born here?
Yes, you're quite right. And it raises the question, well, what if you're born here and you don't subscribe to those values? You know, does that make you less of an Australian or not an Australian or something like that? And yeah, I acknowledge that that's a potential defect in the process, but you don't let the perfect become the enemy of the good. you know, this is not unique for Australia to be taking this approach. 4 years is not very long, really. Switzerland has 10 years. Japan, you can't even become a Japanese citizen by the second generation in some cases. So it's not as if, you know, we're out there all by ourselves internationally.